has started.
Hello and welcome to this Monday's OpenShift SME meeting. Today's subject is Citrix. We have several people here from Citrix to actually talk about their offering. And we also have Dustin here who's actually working with Citrix a lot from a Red Hat perspective and getting their information to us and all that stuff. So Dustin, take it away and let us know what we're going to talk about today.
Thanks, Peter. Yep, so I'm Dustin Trapani, based out of Atlanta, cloud architect. I cover one of the major logistics companies here in the US, huge company, and they have an absolutely massive OpenShift position today. They have bare metal and VMs, and it's huge. And they're using Citrix for kind of a layer 3 load balancer, right? Just a very traditional load balancing. I think almost every one of our OpenShift 4 customers is going to have something that looks like what this logistics company is doing, right? So nothing really special or interesting about it, and you could replace Citrix with F5, and I don't know that I even noticed the difference, to be honest with you, because it's just a very basic load balancing that's happening there. But it works great. They've been using it for years, and as they go from 3 to 4, they came to us as Red Hat, and they said, Dustin, we've got some security issues, right? We need to understand same origin policy. We need to understand how we can do automatic provisioning of certificates, SSL certificates, right, for incoming traffic. They want to secure every one of those routes. They wanted to do some DNS integrations, and it just got very interesting, very fast. And we partnered with Citrix for this, and that's why they're here today, is a kind of as an outshoot of that work we're doing for this logistics company, because I think Citrix moves, Pushkar, you guys do a lot of great things, right? I don't want to minimize that, but from my perspective, right, we saw Citrix going from layer 3 to layer 7, adding in a lot of additional security and observability components and some new API hooks for integration for automation work. And I think there's an awesome story there around like Ansible Tower and Citrix, and there's a new tool called the Citrix Ingress Controller. So all very interesting stuff. It's, I think, fairly new technology in the OpenShift space, so it seemed, talking with Peter Larson, that this would be a conversation worth having with all of you. Hopefully you will enjoy it. And then I think the only thing I'll say is lots of questions. Pushkar Patel is going to talk here in a minute, but make sure you interrupt with all your questions. And then the national SA meeting that James Rinkin has on the 23rd of April. We're gonna try and get the same folks here back again to present to that audience. So if there's follow-ups, we can either do something in the intermediate term, or we could do in that next session. So looking for your feedback on this, and I see we've got Kirsten Newcomer here. Kirsten's helped with that logistics company and some others, so appreciate your support. So I think that's all I've got, unless I forgot anything. Pushkar Patel will introduce you. You're with Citrix. We thank you for your support. I love the hat. That's beautiful. Let me hand it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dustin. That was a great introduction. So let me start my presentation. I'll start sharing my screen. I have a lot of content to cover. So as you said, feel free to ask questions anytime. If the content, if I can't go through my content, we can always get some other time and answer those. It's pretty technical presentation today. We'll actually see product in action. So a lot of things are live. So if something goes wrong, like a proper planner and a product manager, I have made a video of it. So in case, something goes awry,
don't blame the demo gods.
Yes, I always pray to demo god. So first thing I did today morning on the West Coast was to pray to demo gods. So let me get started, okay? Please let me know if you guys can see my screen.
That looks great.
Awesome. So yeah, let me just do a quick agenda, just introduction. So I'm going to talk about Citrix networking. What do we do here? What does our product portfolio consist of for those who don't know about it? Then I'm going to jump directly into integrations with Red Hat, specifically OpenShift. And then I'm going to quickly cover, how, so we have a lot of common customers who are using OpenShift, and they are using Citrix as well. And there are certain architectures which these customers deploy. So I'm going to cover those architectures. And then I'm going to actually show you our integration and do live demo with our Citrix Ingress controller and then some advanced use cases which our customer absolutely love, right? So as you can see here, I'm going to cover some multi-cluster solutions. Our integration with, say, OpenShift monitoring, and then our own opinionated stack of when it comes to observability. I'll cover that as well. Also, if the time permits, we can cover service mesh. We are also certified, and we work with the Red Hat service mesh solution. I can dive into that also if time permits. And then along with that, if there is a need for talking about any security use cases, mainly around web application firewall or API gateway, right? The API gateway, it's a world of API. Securing your API is extremely important, and Citrix can help you do that. Okay, so let me just quickly start introducing about Citrix ADC. So ADC stand for Application Delivery Controller. This is a Gartner coined term, not mine. So, we are a major leader. We have like 40,000 plus customers and counting. Every year we have growth in number of customers. Think of any hyperscaler, right? When you go to Amazon.com, right? Or you go to some other major provider, more than likely we are serving those hyper cloud scalers. Okay, so we have major cloud providers, and then of course we have been for last 10 years leaders in Gartner MQ. Okay, and our product is designed in such a way that we provide a lot of choice to customer, right? So customer in 2000 started with a typical 3-tier architecture, in a data center of their own. So basically, we started with our hardware appliances, right? So doing functionalities like load balancing, providing security, SSL, etc. So we started with that. So that's what this box shows, the MPX. Just stay with the name for now. So we started with that, and then soon as the business changed, as virtualization took off, we created a virtual form factor of this ADC. We call it VPX, virtual form factor. And once from virtualization, the shift started happening to clouds like AWS, Azure, and GCP. So our instances of our ADCs are available in this cloud, and we are very well integrated with that. And it's pretty close to what even OpenShift does, right? If you think there is OpenShift for Azure, OpenShift, I think recently you announced OpenShift on Google Cloud and Amazon. Was it Amazon? I think Amazon was just last week's announcement, right? So, you go there. If you need to use Citrix, will be available there. And then, in 2013, 2014, as the containerization took off, we created a container form factor of the same ADC, CPX. And, the world turns around, comes back. Now they say that, hey, I don't want to pay those for those ASICs or expensive hardware. I just want to get off-the-shelf x86 hardware and run, Citrix ADC. So we created something called as BLX, which is a bare metal form factor of our ADCs. Literally, you can have a Ubuntu and you do apt-get install, and you have a full-blown, highly performing ADC running on your Ubuntu box or CentOS, RPM, -IVH, or Red Hat, or what have you, right? So we have this BLX piece of software on that one. I think the key message out of all this is we are very flexible, available across different environments. And I think, we are the only unique vendors when it comes to ADC in this, where we have all these form factors of ADC running on a single code base. What it means is, the features, all of these products get the same feature. They have the same feature velocity. There is an API and operational consistency. So basically, if you have designed your, say, automation around, Citrix ADCs, you can take it anywhere and across any of these products, right? So any of these different form factor of ADC. So that's one of the uniqueness about Citrix. I think I kind of covered this, all those form factors. It shines through, the hybrid multi-cloud on-prem environment. If you add in, say, load balancing, if you add web application firewall, you put in SSL, you get the single pass architecture with common code, which is highly performant. We recently had a Tolly report as well, where we literally kicked ass of all our competitor when it came to performance. It's available. We can probably share it after this call, the link for that. And then not only that, as customers start deploying, observability becomes very, very important, right? So for example, hey, when is my SSL certificate expiring? Do I need, my application performance is slow, I need to go take a look what's happening. So we have built a complete observability stack with our product ADM, Application Delivery Management. I'll get to that as well. And you can get all those flexibility. And then we don't tie customer to a single place, right? Today, if you are on-prem, and tomorrow, if you decide to go to cloud or have a mix of both, you can use the capacity which you have bought with Citrix and take it across all these different environments. We'll not, so that's through our flexible licensing, and so it's like having a debit card. With that debit card, you can go buy ice cream, or you can go to buy a train ticket or what have you, right? So basically, we provide you that flexibility with our capacity. Okay, so now I'm gonna jump into our integration with Red Hat. So let me talk about how we work with Red Hat. So of course we are a partner with Red Hat. So all the components which go in OpenShift, whether it is Ingress controller or the container form factor CPX, or if you're talking about a sidecar, a CPX sidecar, which goes into OpenShift, it is all certified by Red Hat. It goes through all the security scans of all the libraries within our product to make sure it is compatible and allowed by Red Hat. So we go through that. So we have gone through that certification. With OpenShift 4.x, where operator was front and center, we made sure that our operator images were also certified. So we are there. And I'm going to show you operator today, how easy it is to install our product with these operators. And then just recently this year, we are Ansible Tower partner as well. So we have our modules. So if you go to Ansible Tower automation platform, you can see Citrix. We have around 37 modules over there. So literally any feature which you want to turn on our ADC, we have Ansible module for that. And customer can pick and choose and integrate into their automation framework. Okay. So what is our integration with OpenShift, right? So basic integration, as you know, the SDN layer of OpenShift and the networking component. So OpenShift comes with two flavors. One is routes, the other is ingress. So pretty much everything you talk about route, whether it is a simple path-based routing where there is a plain text between the client and the endpoint. You can plain text HTTP. We support that, of course. If customer is interested in doing the SSL termination on our devices and having a plain text conversation with the backends, we support that through edge termination. Sometimes, you might have a need for just being a pass-through where the endpoints, in this case, are capable of doing SSL. We can be that as well. And then, of course, the most secure part where you want to re-encrypt. So basically, there are literally two SSL sessions going on, one between the client and our ADC, and then ADC to the backend. We support that as well. And then all the OpenShift constructs with Ingress, we support that as well with our product. Okay. And when it comes to networking layer, there are multiple SDN options which a customer has. Most popular is, of course, OVS. I have not seen much of Calico, Flannel, or Vue in OpenShift environment, but those plugins are available with OpenShift as far as I remember. So we support all of those. We also support egress functionality with our service mesh solution. Okay. Any questions on the integration with OpenShift so far?
Good so far.
Okay, cool. So now let's look into how customers are using us, right? What are the different choices which we provide to customer, which is quite popular, and stuff like that. So this is one slide which speaks about it completely. So let me start with the unified ingress. So I don't know if you guys can see it very clearly, but let me try to expand it. I cannot. So basically what you see is a unified ingress at the bottom corner, bottom left. This one, if you can see my mouse going around. So basically, think of it like a ADC is outside the OpenShift cluster, and that ADC kind of is automatically configured for your services which are running in OpenShift. And this is enabled through something called as CIC, which I will cover as we do deep dive into our stack. And this is very common to our customers where they have some high performing application which doesn't need additional hop and they directly want to reach to the pod. This is one option where they can use. But as you can see, this is an architecture where the networking team and the virtualization team work well as a team, right? So there is a need for this tying of networking and stuff. So it is for those kind of customers where the two teams work really well, and unified ingress is a choice for them. The second one, the two-tier ingress, again, if you squint the eyes, there is a bit of dotted lines which represents an OpenShift cluster. And then there is a green box, which is a ADC outside the cluster. And then there is a container form factor of ADC called CPX, which is a blue box, which is inside the cluster. So you can literally have your container form factor, CPX, distributed across various team, development team or platform team, whereas this green ADC is kind of owned by the networking team, right? So basically you do things like, say, web application firewall, or you terminate SSL on these boxes, and you can continue doing that. And then within the OpenShift cluster, you can have different teams. They can go with their own container form factors and whatever load balancing methods or whatever security policy they want to add around it. They can run at their own pace, right? And the component, and we will automate these two together, right? So that's the beauty of two-tier ingress. And now this gives you a flexibility. The app team can run at their own pace, and the networking can go at his own pace, right? So once the setup is done. So this is of also great value for our customers. I'm going to skip as in I'll come back to it, this service mesh light architecture, but I'll talk about the service mesh first. Then it will make sense about service mesh light. So we also support service mesh where, the CPX, the container form factor, we literally took it down to a size of less than 20 MB. So now it can participate as a sidecar in your service mesh architecture, right? And we have integration with that. So there is a lot of value with this architecture of service mesh. It provides the best observability. You have best control when it comes to security because traffic in and out of the pod goes through this sidecar, so you can control it even more. But the customers are still in this journey of adopting it. So there is not many, they are still trying it out, and when there is a proper use case, they move to this. So what we did is we took this beauties of service mesh and created something called as a service mesh lite. So instead of having the sidecar proxy, what we did is we smartly used the Kubernetes objects or the OpenShift objects to kind of hairpin the traffic through a ADC. Either in the cluster or outside the cluster. So you still maintain that control of pod-to-pod communication kind of. This provides you good observability without needing to have, various complications of service mesh. So you can continue using your OpenShift objects the way it is without much trouble. And then you can just hairpin the traffic through CPX. And then, since all the traffic of the pod goes through the ADCs, we can provide you great observability with that. So we have a lot of customers who have not yet gone to service mesh kind of levitate towards this. So typically the journey of the customer starts here on this left side, either the unified ingress and two-tiered ingress. And as the business need increases, they move towards these other two architectures when there is an extreme need of observability and security with service mesh lite and service mesh. Okay. Does that make sense?
It
Any
does.
questions on this one? Yeah, great. So as I said, right, we have been with 40,000 plus customers. They have this green box, the ADC, which is outside this dotted line already in their infrastructure, right? So we provide, to start this journey, you can start with this north-south architecture, and there are various integration points, and I'm going to talk about that. So of course, service of a type load balancer is one option from OpenShift, which can be used to configure ADC, which is outside the cluster. And we have built some cool stuff around with that. So we have created Ipam module, which is IP address management module, where you can say that the development team will have this subnet for the VIP, or say a staging team has this VIP for subnet, and these VIPs are automatically created on your ADCs, and you can use the service of the type load balancer for that, right? Second option is, of course, Ingress, where you have one IP address and then you have a host path rules for going to different endpoints. We support that Ingress as well. Customers using Istio, right? If they want to use us as a gateway in front of it, since we understand the Istio protocol and we are integrated with OpenShift, that's another choice which you provide to customer. And last but not the least, the API gateway functionality. I want to secure my APIs. Maybe I want to use authentication using OAuth, or I want to rate limit my APIs, right? So that I don't get DDoS attacks, or I want to turn on WAF, right? So this is very important. Even before the traffic hits the OpenShift cluster, we can provide a lot of value, and these are our various integrations. Okay. Any questions on this one? All right. So now let's deep dive into our stack. What is it we do here? Like I talked a bunch of stuff at the start, so now let's see how exactly it happens, right? So what you see in this purple box over here, or violet box, is a bunch of pods running in a cluster, right? So Ingress controller obviously is the heart of the solution, which basically talks to the API server, right? And it basically, depending on the policies you have defined, and based on changes in the OpenShift environment, like the pod scaling, pod going away, etc., it keeps a watch on that one. And at the other end, it goes and configure these ADCs, right? So you could have ADC outside the cluster, like BLX, STX, MPX, or VPX. It can go configure that, or it can go and configure CPX within the clusters with this Ingress controller. If you remember the start of my presentation where I said the value of our product is having this consistent API interfaces to all of these different form factor of ADCs, right? So this CIC enables configuring all these devices because of that, okay? Integration for monitoring purposes, OpenShift out of the box comes with Prometheus, Grafana, Elasticsearch, Kibana. So we have provided integration to that. For example, we provide additional tools and counters. And since we are close to application as well, we can provide you a lot more information, not only about the ADC health, but also about the application. What is the response time which the ADC is seeing? If there are any issues, those 4 golden signals which SREs look for, we can kind of integrate that into these observability tools as well. Okay. We have also designed these products for various CI/CD tools. We have integration with Spinnaker and Jenkins. We also have GitOps integration, where we can be part of your continuous delivery pipeline. So we have integrated that as well. Certificate management is a big thing, right? So we have a good integration with, say, Let's Encrypt and HashiCorp's Vault. So if the customer is using any of those, we can easily integrate into that. So basically what it means, we will be watching for changes in certificates dynamically. So without any downtime, your certificate will be updated and stuff like that. And we have integrated with all these OpenShift platform which you see over here, right from bare metal to a virtual machine environment with VMware, or OpenShift. We have tested with Azure. I don't know if we have finished our testing with AWS yet, but I don't foresee any reasons why we can't claim support for that, since OpenShift brings that common control plane across all these clouds, right? So it should be very easy to integrate. So we support that as well. And then we are designed to work both for both cloud and on-prem. And now you can see that we have this bunch of ADCs, right? There is a container form factor, then there is this form factors which are not containers, and they are spread across these different environments. We tied all of those ADCs together with something called as Citrix ADM, Application Delivery Management. Think of it like a single pane of glass to look at all your proxies which are running in different environments. Not only that, we have taken this ADM and made it a service, a cloud service, right? So you can go to citrix.cloud.com and customer can connect to all these ADCs in this different environment, and we can provide you the whole management of those ADCs. Not only that, we have also built a complete observability stack, which I'll cover as we move forward, which is for those customers who don't want to build their own observability tools using Prometheus Grafana, we provide an out-of-box experience with our ADM. Okay. Any questions on this one before I dive into the demo?
No, I think we're good. Let's get to the demo.
All right. So I think, yeah, before I go to the demo, just one more slide. So there are various ways of configuring our ADCs, right? A typical way of constructing. So for example, if I want to create a whip on an ADC, I can just use an annotation. If you want to use, say, a specific port on ADC, and not only 80 and 443, I want to use some other ports. We provide all those options using annotations. We also support route sharding, ingress classes. We can do blue-green deployment, canary-based deployment, all those things, and these are all enabled via annotation. We also have something called as a smart annotation. Smart annotation is nothing but very specific to Citrix. Some of the goodies of Citrix, like if there is a specific load balancing method you want to use, you want to turn on health checks in a certain way, we provide that through smart annotation, right? Also, since we are at a position where we are not only serving OpenShift cluster, we are also serving traditional applications. Sometimes the certificates need to be reused, right? So you have to provide a way to point to the certificates. We provide that through smart annotation. And then, we have developed a bunch of custom resource definitions, CRDs, this is from customer feedback. Rewrite responder is one of the features which is heavily used by our customers. So we make sure that we have CRDs integrated for rewrite and responder. Pretty much all of our OpenShift customers are using rewrite responder in some way or the other, and it is done through CRDs. Also, if there is a need for doing a layer 7 HTTP header based routing, we have created a listener and a CRD for that as well. All the API gateway functionality, enabling web application firewall, and this multi-cluster environment is all done through CRDs. Also, since we are serving HTTP SSL application, there is need. If you have any specific need for your TCP or say SSL, we support all those small changes. Like if you want to say turn on WebSocket. These are all done through something called as profiles or HTTP profiles. Or if you want to use certain kind of TCP window scaling or do selective ACK, you can use profiles for that. And with SSL, if you want to use say TLS version 2 or you want to use HSTS, we can do all of those through the profiles as well. And then of course there is config map. Like you will see when I show the demo that how easy it is to integrate with COE. Again, I'm going to go back to this slide. This particular pod, which I'm talking about, observability exporter, we call it Citrix Observability Exporter. The job of this guy is to basically extract counters and time series data from these ADCs and talk the language of these tools, right? So Prometheus, Grafana, Elastic, they talk slightly different, right? So Prometheus and Grafana are mainly REST-based, JSON-based APIs. And there are other formats like Avro, etc. We have also integration with Splunk, etc. Right? So you can easily put that into the config map of CIC, and that should work. So this is what I'm gonna show you. I think we are half an hour already. So let me get to the demo. I'm gonna start with the Ingress controller. Okay. Please let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Yeah, it looks good so far.
Okay, cool. Okay. So actually I need to go back to the slide to explain something. Okay. Yeah, so let me go. So I'm gonna kind of orient you to the demo setup, right? So what I'm gonna do is I have application running in a cluster, or I will deploy an application running in a cluster. I'm going to use an operator, OpenShift operator, to install our CIC, which will go and configure ADC, which is right. And then I'm going to, of course, create an ingress object or a route object, which can be picked up by the CIC, and it will go and configure, and we will access that application. Okay. So let me go to my screen here. Let me go to the browser, just to make sure I'm not going to be logged out. Okay. So this is my operator hub. This is OpenShift 4.4, which is running on a VMware cluster in my lab. So if you just go to operator hub and type Citrix, you will see all these operators. There are certain which are on the marketplace, certain which are over here. So for example, as you can see, we participate in Istio, CPX Istio sidecar. Then there is a CPX with Ingress controller. What I'm going to use today is this Citrix Ingress controller, right? So this is already installed. So let's create an instance of that one. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to say create an instance. Okay, I'm just going to do one more thing. This. Okay, I'm going to go through those fields. Okay, so just a moment. So basically, I just copy pasted so that while I'm talking and typing, I don't do any errors. So basically, this is the IP address of the ADC 10.106.175.64. I have a secret defined so that it can access this ADC. Okay, and then there are a bunch of options like ingress class. So to pick the right ADCs, all the objects which are created on these ADCs will have a prefix. Let's say in this case, I have Red Hat Citrix Red CTRX and stuff like that. And then you have a choice of installing all my CRDs here or not install. We provide all those choices. These are not any mandatory field. The only mandatory field is this NSIP and this secret. Rest all are customizable, and depending on your need, you can change around. Also, I have that Citrix Observability exporter running at this location, which is also in an OpenShift cluster over here. So we can go to say OpenShift monitoring. Where is it? Okay, right here. So I have a COE running over here. Application services. If you see COE here, it is running on node port 30026 and 30027. This is OpenShift 3.11, by the way. This is OpenShift 4.4. This is 3.11. And I'm just pointing my ADC, which is going to come up to that particular. And I'm going to just show the integration with Prometheus. We have Avro format, as I mentioned. And we support all of these, distributed tracing. If you want transaction, if you want events, your audit log, you can do all of those. Okay, so I'm just going to create this. So the CIC should be coming up right now. Let's wait for a moment. Okay, there you go. The CIC is, the deployer came out and CIC is coming up. Let's just make sure it comes up. All right, so looks like it is up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my cluster here. And I'm going to quickly show you the apps I'm going to deploy, right? So I just have a simple app saying, I want to expose port 80 on that one, and this is my deployment and the ingress rule associated with that. So app1 ingress.yaml. So as you can see, I'm just going to automatically create this whip 10.106.175.66. You have a choice of using our Ipam as well, so you don't have to mention it like this. I'm also going to turn on the analytic profile so that it sends right data to the observability exporter which I showed, and I'm going to expose it at say app1.example.com, right? So I'm just going to quit this. I have scripted it out, so I'm just going to create those apps. Okay, OC get pods -n Red Hat. So you can see the app is up and running just 5 seconds ago. Let's go back to the browser. Let's go to the boards. So that's the app one. So let's try to access it. Okay, here it is. So, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to curl for app1.example.com and I'm going to hit the whip, right? I'm just simulating how access would happen. So as you can see, I can access that particular application. You have reached the app deployed in OpenShift 4. Okay, so so what I just showed was a CI/CD in action, and how it was able to pick up all the information. You can scale these up and down, and it will be automatically picked up by CI/CD and plumbed into ADC. Okay, any questions on this one? If not, I'll move on. Okay. So the next thing which I want to talk about is how our customers are using in these multi-cluster environments, right? So I think one of the very common use cases, I'm using OpenShift 3.11. I need to migrate to OpenShift 4. You guys can hear me, right?
You're doing great. Keep going.
Yeah,
We're trying to save all our questions for the. We're trying to save all our questions for the end.
No.
I know Peter and I both have quite a few, but I want to try and let you cover as much as you can.
I just want to make sure I didn't lose this connection. So
No, you're doing great.
You're fine. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So now let me talk about the multi-cluster, right? A lot of our customers are going through this migration. I think Dustin, you are also involved with one down in Florida, moving from OpenShift 3.x to 4.x eventually. And at that time, we can help, right? And I'll show you how we can help with this multi-cluster solution. So I'm going to quickly talk about what is our multi-cluster solution, what are the different use cases for that, and then I'm actually going to show you a demo of, doing kind of an app migration from, say, OpenShift 3 to 4, okay? So I did introduce the stack. We also have something called as a multi-cluster controller, which goes and configures our global service load balancer on an ADC. And this is enabled by CRDs. Okay, so we have two CRDs called as GTP and GSE. GSE stands for Global Service Entry, and GTP stands for Global Traffic Policies. Okay, so we provide different policies as to how a traffic, when it hits a ADC, can be, you can define algorithm saying that, I want weightage of 30% for application on this clusters versus 70% on the other. You can do simple things like failover, or you can have, the client coming in, depending on where the client is coming in, based on his locality and the best response time he's supposed to get, we can smartly route the traffic to right cluster, right? And GSE is you can either statically define how your endpoint's IP address or WIP would be, or you have an option to automatically plumb it as well. So it's not a mandatory field, but we have that as well. Okay. So use cases, right? So of course, sorry for the spelling mistake here. It is what it shows in the cloud is internet. I don't know what I was doing when I typed that. So basically the client comes in, you can have, say, a data center 1 and data center 2. If data center 1 fails, you can have that failover option, or you can split the traffic between. This is within your data center. You might have on-prem data center in 2 locations, and you are OpenShift running in these different locations. You can use Citrix ADC to smartly steer the traffic between them, right? You could have a mix. Right, you could have on-prem data center, and you might have something in cloud like Azure. You can use our Citrix ADCs there to, again, for this multi-cluster solution, right? Not only that, you can take it across clouds. You might have 2 different cloud sites, and then we can integrate with those as well. Okay, and there are different options: local first, canary, failover options, static proximity. These are all the different choices which we provide for traffic management. This is all available with our ADCs. Okay. Time for demo. So let me just orient you to what I'm going to do. Okay. So I built this out using operator, if you remember. So what I'm going to do now is something like this. I'm going to create these two cluster environments. So that's your OpenShift 4 and OpenShift 3. And I'm going to tie them together with GSLB, and we're going to use the same access, app1.example.com. Okay. And then I'm going to fail over the OpenShift 3 just to simulate an environment where OpenShift 3 is no more there, and now I'm going to OpenShift 4, okay, for access, and it will be seamless like this. Okay. So let me jump to my demo. Dismiss this. Okay. So this red terminal which you see is OpenShift 3.11. This green stuff which you, the blue stuff which you see is OpenShift 4.4. That's where we just did the demo, where we installed the operator. Okay. And then I'm going to show you something, which is GTP. This is the CRD, Global Traffic Policy. And I'm saying that when the host app1.example.com comes, my primary in this case is this OpenShift, which is in the east zone, with weight 1. And then, the secondary site is my OpenShift 4. So I have primary as false over there. And we have various monitor options where I have to how to make sure the health of your applications is detected. So we have different monitor options. This is all automated configuration. So you can have a choice of TCP, UDP, HTTP, HTTPS as your monitor, or a custom protocol. We support all of those. And now I'm going to quickly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a script running. So I have a script running here. What it is doing is it is trying to access app1.example.com, and I'm grepping for OpenShift 3 and OpenShift 4. Right now all the traffic is landing on OpenShift 3. As you can see, I'll let it continue running. What I'm going to do next, sorry about this. Okay, so here I'm going to now create I'm going to apply this multi-cluster GTP. Okay. So I scripted it out. I just applied the global traffic policy. You can go to the browser here, look at the pods. This is the GSLB controller which is running over here. As you can see, it's getting applied. The config push is happening at this point of time. Okay, and then I'm just going to make sure that the configuration happens. Since I'm doing it live, sometimes it takes time. So you can see that I have my backup, and then I have both are in upstate. This is the other ADC. I just want to make sure even that is up. So it's still coming up. As you can see, the state is down, so we'll wait for it to come up. It takes a while because it does all the make sure that the applications are healthy before it shows up on this side. So we'll continue doing that till it comes up.
So Pushkar, if you want to allow a little bit of time for questions, we sort of need to get it wrapped up very soon. Otherwise, we're going to run out of time.
Yeah, I think I'm almost done. I'm going to just do a failover. Now you can see that both the states are up. Okay. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to delete the application from OpenShift 3.11. Okay. So I'm going to do del delete my application from here. And then you can take a look here that it will quickly shift from OpenShift 3 to OpenShift 4. Okay. This is now accessing the app which is on OpenShift 4. Okay. So what do we do now? I have a bunch of other slides as well. Do you want to spend time on Q&A, or Shall I
Yeah,
talk
I think
about?
let's switch to a discussion, Pushkar, just because we've gotten a lot of information here. I think in the last 45 minutes or so, it's been great. I think a tremendous overview. But I would love to open it up. We've got 21 folks on the call, so I'd love to open it up to everybody for their questions and get your feedback on them. I'll start with one question, and then everybody else, please come off mute, jump in. But Pushkar, question is this, from our internal chat is, you mentioned there's a pattern for the half a dozen customers you have that have adopted OpenShift and the Citrix integrations you're speaking about. I think to me the unified ingress and the two-tier ingress, those seem to be the most useful. So I wonder if you could talk just a little bit about the pattern for those customers.
Yeah.
And
So I think
yeah.
the multi-cluster demo which I just showed you is a most common. So typically in an OpenShift cluster, they have this a crown jewel application, so to say, or the application which actually runs the business. And even to get to that application, it first hits our Citrix ADC, right? So how do I make sure that the copy of this application, which is running across different multiple data centers, there is resiliency to that, right? So if one cluster goes down or something wrong happens with the application in one cluster, how can I seamlessly fail over and make sure the experience to the end customer remains same and you don't lose business? That has been by far, I would say, 75% of the use cases with our OpenShift customers, with our devices. Okay. The second, of course, is the two-tier, where I have a WebSocket backend running. My app needs to talk WebSocket, or I need to talk. So in that case, you can use the container form factor to talk that WebSocket application. We have a customer actually doing that as well. Okay, using specific protocols. Say I want to turn on HTTP2, right? And then I want to have a specific load balancing algorithm for this particular project in OpenShift. That's where CPH shines. So those are the most common use cases. We are also seeing increasingly the fact that, hey, do you integrate with, say, Azure's ADFS, right? I want to make sure that the user who is trying to access my API is indeed a valid user. Not only that, he is authorized to access those APIs, right? So integrating with JOT tokens, integrating with the OAuth, those have been also very common. In a very rare instance, we have a customer based outside US who is using SAML to integrate with our ADCs and then accessing the cluster. So we have integration with that as well.
All right, good stuff.
A question I would have, Pushkar, is when you do the failover, you're looking at, right now you demo a stateless application. Do you have any kind of solutions that deals with synchronization of data or dealing with any kind of state?
No, I think the stateful applications have to sync over. There is a shared data, right? So that shared data can be a backend, which that particular application is in, and that is separate from,
Okay.
Yeah, it's separate. It's just networking at this point of time. We are not doing any data sharing aspect. So that would be application design use case. Does that make sense?
Yep. Another thing I necessarily don't see. Do you do sharded in Ingress at all, where you have multiple?
Yeah, we do route sharding. So you can. So I think one of the things which I kind of quickly went over because of lack of time was, we have these route labels within. So if you look at the operator here, basically we support route sharding, all the route sharding capabilities, where you can literally go to the level of namespace and the labels in a particular route object to kind of pick and choose the ADC. Okay, so we provide route sharding aspect. It's also documented on our website. If there is an interest on that one, I can cover that next time as well. route sharding that's how we started with. I think that's our OpenShift integration. OpenShift came with route sharding capability. We also made.
It's just when we start talking about more advanced setups and large setups that I'm just interested to look at where how flexible this solution is when it's more than just a single entry point. Okay.
So
anyone else with questions? Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine.
I was just wondering.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, please go ahead. Please go ahead. No, please go ahead. No,
I was just wondering. We have a couple of more minutes left, so if there was anyone other than Dustin and I with questions, please speak up. I saw a couple in the notes, but I'm not sure they're questions. He said something saying in here that Pushkar mentioned there is a pattern for half a dozen customers. So he's asking, what is that pattern?
That pattern is the multi-cluster demo which I just showed.
Okay. Another question says, what type of working relationship is needed between network and the OCP platform operations team to make this successful?
Yeah, so typically what happens is at the end of the day, there is a IP address management which is required, right? And sometimes your ADCs might not be in the same broadcast domain. It could be across different layer 3 boundary. So you need to kind of create some kind of a VXLAN tunnel into your OpenShift cluster. So there is some intersection with the networking team at that point of time. Otherwise, you will have to use things like Nodeport or stuff like that. If you need access to the pod network, you'll have to work with the networking team. One of the components which I showed in my slides. Quick. Yeah, here. This thing which says node controller is that exact automation tool which plumbs the OVS network with our ADC by creating a VXLAN tunnel. So that's kind of the kind of work which needs to happen with the networking team.
I have one final question in the notes here saying about the Citrix service mesh. I guess this is a pre-sales person. Why should I care? It seems like it's basically, it seems like I'm selling Citrix and there's little to no benefits, meaning over the service mesh that is in OpenShift. That's my presumption.
Yeah, so
I'm just trying to figure out, how do you differentiate? What is it that you're adding additional?
No, so we are integrating with Istio. So basically, we are pretty much limited to the features Istio provides. So we support all of those. If the customer is very interested or is concerned about the latency and throughput, we have an extensive third-party report out there where we eke out the performance with the native Envoy sidecar ADC. It's a publicly available report. You can take a look. So typically what happens is in a service mesh architecture, a particular API call goes through various services before a response comes back. And these latencies do add up. Throughput is also another concern, right? So when it comes to performance, we can support that. And then also leveraging existing investment, right? I might have a ADC already in front of the OpenShift cluster, and I want to use gateway functionality. So instead of having those multiple op between that ADC outside the cluster and then inside the cluster with another proxy and then another to the sidecar, we can reduce those hops. So those are some of the value points.
Thanks. I think, unfortunately, we went out of time. I'm going to stop the recording, but if anyone has any questions right now, now's your chance. Other than that, we will definitely post at least the recording. Hopefully, can we get a copy of the slides too?
Sure.
Okay, that would be great too.
Pushkar,